Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. We just want to greet you and say welcome to WTV, the dialogue program. Today we have Atto Atnafu, who is one of the founders of WTV for the director of the Amharic program, but nowadays is a little bit of absent, and we will renew that program. Today we want to take the perspective of the Amhara people and Ethiopia at large about the current political situation in the Horn of Africa, specifically the agreement and the MOU signed by the Ethiopian government and Somaliland. Otot Nabu, welcome to the dialogue one more time.
Thank you, Brother Yasin. Thank you very much for inviting me for this critical issue at this time. I'm happy to be part of the dialogue.
We have been hearing a lot about this agreement. A lot of people are saying different things. The Ethiopia is the consensus of all Ethiopians for this agreement, and what's your perspective first of all? Then we're gonna go in, and Minister Guled will be joining us in a few minutes.
Okay, Brother Yasin. My perspective on this specific agenda is when you talk about access to sea and ports, that has been critical for in terms of the Ethiopian as a country, Ethiopia as a country. But the one which they did now, this is not the way to get access to the sea. There are legal ways, there are business dealing ways, there are peaceful ways to try to get access to the sea. But recently, what Prime Minister Abiy's government claimed he signed agreement for 50 years lease agreement with Somaliland has no merit at all legally, and seeing the situation in Ethiopia now, Ethiopia is burning in a civil war. This government has no control over Ethiopian different regions. In Tigray, 91% of the population is about 4.5 million people are in famine. Amhara region, almost 75% of the entire Amhara region is not controlled by the government, and people are fighting for legitimate rights and survival and existence for they're fighting for existence because they were invaded by their own government, bombarded by drones, airplanes, and heavy armament. People are fighting to survive and to resist this invasion. Go to Benshangul and other areas, go to Somali region or Afar. There's no peace at all. Go to Oromia. The government has no control most of the Wolaga and other regions. The question now is, why is the Prime Minister Abiy government to try to create this agenda at this juncture when he doesn't even have control over his government at this time? Why? And is fraudulent in many ways. Number one, Somaliland is not a country. Is an autonomous region by its own means, but legally and in international community, it is still under the Somalia, the Republic of Somalia, and its boundaries and its territories.
That debate we're going to have it, but what I want to start with is that you just say that at NAPU, the prime minister is not in control of Ethiopia. You said that 80% of the Amhara region right now is under the Fano, if I'm wrong, correctly, Fano militia or Fano the rebel force. Is that, am I correct on that?
You are correct. They only control some of the biggest cities and the road, the asphalt roads that they are following through the roads only. If you, they cannot go 10 miles out of the main road to the countryside because their people are fighting for their existence. Yes, that's true.
And
So
then we know that
that's the
Oromia,
reality now.
OLA, and the government's peace agreement has failed.
That's true. Correct. And they are bombarding the Oromo people because of that too. A lot of people whom my friends, my Oromo friends, one guy, I think you know Grima, he's from Ambo area.
Yeah,
Um, and he was weeping this week, crying, but his two cousins were killed, just farmers
yeah,
were killed in Ambo area because they were suspected of supporting Ola. So, yeah, there's Oromo, it's
So having
Amhara,
said that, a
farmers
lot of
were
Somalis,
suffering.
sometimes make confusion about Ethiopia, uh, and put lump together the ethnic groups, Oromo, Amhara. And is this agreement supported by all ethnic groups in Ethiopia?
Well, listen, in the last 2 days after the announcement of this memorandum of understanding, uh, the government orchestrated a celebratory mode in every big cities. But who were supporting? Who were chanting? You don't see demonstrations, but you see cars. Who owns cars in this country? The government and cadres owns cars, most of the cars, and they were, and the police officers, the military, and government supporters and government officials and cadres themselves, they orchestrated and they they tried in Addis Ababa honking horns in some cities, even in Amhara region. Um, in southern region, in most Oromia regions, in the bigger cities, they tried to hang horns and they were talking, the media was talking that people are celebrating because Ethiopia got access to the sea. Um,
Mm.
and the reason that they are doing it now is they are in trouble with their own people. They just want to divert attention from domestic problem to make it internationalized. Uh, Other than that, if you are asking me about the people, the Amhara people, I'm not sure about the Oromo people. I think they will support it because anybody who can understand
Your voice
international
cut off.
politics,
Your,
anybody who can
your
understand
voice cut off at Napu.
the
What's the
reason
Amhara people's perspective?
pretty much so, accept their own cadres and political elites of their own. The Amhara people, I know the majority do not support this. Whether it is
Okay.
Amhara or Oromo or any Ethiopian for that matter, including Somalis, they're convinced that this is a very dangerous game. You are violating international politics. And everybody who can understand international politics, this is a very dangerous game. You are
Why is it a
violating
dangerous game? Why
international
is it a
law.
dangerous game?
It is dangerous because if it is a legitimate agreement, it should be between two equally recognized countries. Somaliland is not a country. Is it a
Okay.
country? Can you tell me it's a country? Because you are very close by. But I know
No,
the
no,
people are,
it's not recognized country.
it's not a
So
recognized country, it's autonomous, but you cannot sign up international agreements with a region which do not have internationally recognized by the United Nations and most not only most nations, but by any nation. But the fraudulent part is why the Somaliland signed this agreement. It's not an agreement, it's a memorandum of understanding. You cannot even call it agreement. It's a memorandum of understanding. It's a very low profile agreement. they
Okay.
call it, is um, honestly uh, in favor. What they want to get from Ethiopia is they want to get from Ethiopia recognition as a country. Ethiopia wants to recognize it. Not only Ethiopia, there are other Arab nations, which is the United Arab Emirates, which is involved in all aspects of the Ethiopian politics and in all aspects of supplying weapons to destroy our people, including Amharas, Oromos, Tigrayans, supplying drones, supplying equipments. And these people have a lot of agenda for East Africa to dismantle the whole the Horn of Africa. They're supporting factions in the Sudan war. They're supporting now Abiy Ahmed to do this dirty game, which may honestly ignite war between Somalia and other countries and Ethiopia and our people, which we
So
don't like any war at this time. We don't
so
like
now we know
that's
that now we know that Ethiopia has created a navy, its own navy, and say that they need a base for the navy. So, and the agreement, when you read it, it says that this is for security reason. This is why we are doing it. Do you buy that?
not at all. For security reasons, you want to have an illegal illegitimate agreement is not the way to go. If you don't violate a sovereign country's rights by doing so. If you have to do it, you have to do it with countries who are legitimate countries like Somalia, Eritrea, Djibouti. When I say Somalia, the Republic of Somalia, not our region. So you can have agreement with them to have access to the sea or for any security reasons or anything. But the threat is not security. What is the security reason at this moment in Ethiopia? Especially trying to have a naval force at this time. This government is under illusion. If you don't have any control over your own people, if you cannot stabilize your own people, and if you are killing your own people by drone, is probably the more force they get, the more weapons and security apparatus they created, that's the means to destroy the country, to bombard the country. So it's not a national interest. It's not our international national interest at all for Amhara or Oromo or anybody who calls himself Ethiopia. It's not. There is no any national threat on the sea coming. The only threat we have in Ethiopia now is the military force, which is commanded by Abiy Ahmed. That's a great threat for everybody in Ethiopia. We don't have any threat from the coming
For
from
example, if we take the perspective of the Ethiopian government right now, they're saying that because it's a national security, because Djibouti and and Asmara both are not giving them enough rights to use their ports, and the fees that the Djibouti is they're getting from it is too high. So isn't that since the dollar since the Ethiopian currency is devaluated, since the credit rating of Ethiopian government Ethiopia went down, the IMF is holding off for the fundings. Ethiopia is in serious crisis and in being war for a while. National, direct foreign direct investment is not have been following the way it's supposed to be. China is not allowing them to get the necessary loans they are looking for. So can the prime minister cannot sustain this way? He needs a way out.
maybe he needs a way out to leave the country for good. If that's what he's looking for, he can go by plane. Uh, but the economic crisis that the Ethiopians are suffering now is a crisis that was created by the government itself. It's not because we don't have access to the sea. We never had access to the sea ever since TPLF or EPRDF controlled the country, which is 1991. Okay, and the Ethiopian economy was growing by double digit after, especially after uh, just 1907. So the Ethiopian economy was growing while we were landlocked. But what this government is trying to do now is he is trying to find an external factor to blame for mismanaging the economy, for robbing the country, for spending every dime, every dollar they get for war against its own people. That's why the economy is in bad shape. It's not because we don't have access to the sea. Yes, Djibouti has been with. We have been using Djibouti not even during TPLF time, during all times, including during Haile Selassie or their time. We have been using Djibouti ports because of the railways, the rail system that we it was created, thanks to our ancestors. And
Okay. So
so that's not the problem. Yes, it is a problem, but that's not the cause for our economic problem. The main cause of the economic problem is the dysfunctional government, the warmonger government, which is fighting with its own people and killed millions of people within less than 2 years. Millions, it's not thousands.
okay. So then, having
That's
said
why
that,
we are in trouble.
let's go to the consequence of this agreement. The Somali government right now said that when the prime minister was making a speech, I mean, not the prime minister, the president of Somalia, the joint parliamentary meeting with the cabinet, very serious they took, and they took the hardest rhetoric they said it to any country. They say that the Prime Minister Meles Zenawi made created, he said that, Al Shabaab. Right now, when we are winning the war against Al Shabaab, the Abiy Ahmed's action might recruit Al Shabaab and create more chaos in the region. And Somali government say that we will not allow this to go through it, no matter what. So are we getting ready for a war again between Ethiopia and Somalia?
Well, I will not be surprised if there is a war is going to start between Somalia and Ethiopia at this time, because Somalia has a legal right to protect its own interest. To me, but to disfranchise its way and to create an alliance with unholy alliance with the United Arab Emirates, which are supplying weapons and other policies like this behind, has to be stopped. If the war starts, I don't think the Ethiopian people will back this war. I don't think will support the Prime Minister Abiy and go and die for such nonsense.
So you saying
That's not
that, for
acceptable.
example, right now Eritrea is against the prime minister of Ethiopia and his regime. We know that the Somali president, the first call that he made was Egypt's president. We know right now the Amharas are fighting for this. So this could be the failure for Abiy's government. It cannot sustain a three-phase war between one that's internal war happening, Eritrea who's doing a proxy war, and Somalia who will do an open war.
Well, it's most likely probably the end of this regime, because they may be miscalculating, thinking that they know the hearts and the minds of people, that they always vision to have access to the sea. That's nothing wrong to. to have aspiration to have access to the sea. But it has to be legal way, a peaceful way, in a diplomatic way with legitimate neighboring countries who have access of these seas. You don't do it by disfranchising. You don't do it by signing with illegitimate governments. I'm sorry to say illegitimate. I know the southwestern Somalia when they fight against Said Barre. Me,
Yeah,
I was in the military, so we supported them, and I have a very good um, wish
relationship.
to be dependent for the Somaliland to, decide for their own destiny. But I'm sorry to say it now, but they are not an independent nation so long as they are uh, recognized by the international community, even not even by one country at this level of. So the Republic of Somalia has a legitimate right to protect its own territory and interest. And we don't
So,
want to ignite war for this reason. So I don't think the Ethiopian people will support this war. If the war starts, that's his mess, that's his problem. But before they start this thing, Prime Minister Abiy was trying to go against Eritrea for the call of the same agenda, which is access to the Red Sea. He was mentioning it several times. But he thought while he was doing it, he was bombarding the Amhara farmers by drone. You know what the Amhara said? You think that we are going to fight with Eritrea against Eritrea because of the port?
mm,
We regret fighting against our brothers, the Tigrayans, supporting your dirty war of killing each other. We'll never do the same mistake against any nation because of your dirty policy. Yes, we need access to the sea, but we don't want to invade anyone and we don't want to do it illegally. We had enough war and we are having even war now at this time by our own government. But this government is trying to deflect the agenda from domestic agenda to international so that the people will be nationalistic feeling and support him. And that's what he's dreaming. But this guy lost credibility on many ways. He betrayed so many countries. He betrayed Eritrea. He betrayed the Tigrayans. He betrayed Amharas. He betrayed Somalis. He betrayed everyone. Zero negative credibility at all. And nobody will go after him to fight with any country for anything, including the sport, honestly.
so this war, we know what he did in the prime minister in Egypt, the Nile River, how the whole country became one. During the Tigray war, the whole country became one. Are you saying that people are tired of this kind of
There is,
agenda?
there is, some, there is something, say it again, there was interruption.
No, no problem. I'm saying that this kind of agenda that unifying the country by declaring war on Tigray, declaring war on Egypt, declaring war right now in the Amhara region. Now the whole country. You don't think this will unite because this was the ambition that other success Amhara and Ethiopian administrations used to always say that we need some ocean and we need access to ocean. That was something that all the way to Mililik people were saying this. So you don't think this is gonna unify the country?
Not really, not this time, brother. What do you mean? What people are fighting for their survival, bro. This is luxury now for Ethiopians. If you're
Then
fighting for your existence with your own government, and you try to unify with your killer and fight with anybody,
so
ooh,
if let's go deep into the Ethiopian politics right now, Gojam is the breadbasket of Ethiopia, and nothing will come out for a while in terms of productivity, uh, and that will hurt more. So if the prime minister cannot unite the country, if the national dialogue is not happening. And Somalia right now, the attention, the agenda of the administration will be Somalia. What is the consequence? What will be happening, and what are you worried about?
You know, my worry now is there could be some people who are unaware of the international politics, um, naively support the agenda, but in terms of the other parties too, including Somalians, when I say Somalians, the Republic of Somalia, and others, they need to distinguish between Abiy and the Ethiopian people. Uh,
What do you
they
mean?
don't have they don't have to blame Ethiopians for this. Ethiopians has nothing to do with this dirty agenda. This is a making of Abiy Ahmed and his government. It's the Ethiopian people didn't ask access to the sea in this way. Underquote, in this way. No. We want to live with our neighbors in a very peaceful manner. No. So when when I see sometimes propagandas, activists and others in the Facebook, they always, misquote the Ethiopian people. They are expansionists, blah blah. They even brought up some agendas 150 years ago, 100 years ago, or something like that. Has nothing to do with this. You know what? Um, we may have bad experience before, but we need to live together in the region in a peaceful manner. And East Africa is in crisis. Sudan is fighting. There is a civil war in Sudan. Millions are died and millions are displaced. Okay? Until a few months ago, the Tigrayans, more than 500,000 people vanished, dead by their own government in this war. Now, many thousands of Amharas are being bombarded by drone and airplanes. And the world and the Somali people have to distinguish between this ruthless government and Amhara people, Ethiopian people. Don't blame us. Blame the government. And no conscious people will be on the side of this government to wage war for national, or what they call it, fraudulent national interest. Yeah, we had a national pride and we'll have our national interest. But this government is killing its own people by the support of United Arab Emirates weapon supply, which sponsors of this agreement too. And people have to focus to fight against the United Arab Emirates and the Abiy regime. The Ethiopian people, the Amhara people, Oromo people has nothing to do with this fraudulent policy. And we need to we need to talk about it. We need to have a proper dialogue. Please distinguish that.
No, I know most Somalis will distinguish, and the propaganda that a few days ago or months ago was the Somaliland people that and the Oromos are the same tribe, and they call it Dir tribe. Have you heard that?
Dirk try?
Yeah, they are
Oh,
one. So Somaliland Isak people and and Oromos are brothers.
well,
And
listen,
well, but we passed Cushitic now. We went down.
listen, they claim not only Somaliland, they claim a lot of lands in Amara region, including Wollo and Gojang. I'm not surprised. There are extremist views in the Oromia political view. Um, I'm not sure, I'm not certain that Abiy Ahmed's policy is probably to promote that agenda. Maybe that could be. But if that is the case, also, that's something that will never be realized, number one. I have seen a map it was distributed in the Facebook by some Oromo activists that the Oromia map is close to the Indian Ocean and Red Ocean, but through the Somaliland, it goes to Wollo and crosses the Nile River and comes to Gocham. That's delusion. We understand there is, but honestly, anybody can wish anything.
So
But,
at Asnaf,
but
what's wrong with Oromia or Oromo people having a success administration in Ethiopia and for the first time getting an ocean or a sea port? What's wrong with that?
um, look, if they secede from Ethiopia, that's what are you saying?
No, what I'm saying is as an administration right now, because it's Oromo people are leading this time, right? And this is Oromo agenda. Is this Ethiopian agenda or Oromo agenda? Let's differentiate that.
I don't think it is. When you say Ethiopian, when you say Amhara and you say Oromo, there are.
No, I'm saying that this is Ethiopian agenda, including all ethnicity, including Amhara, Somalis, and southern regions and
But
everything.
we need to
Or
differentiate Abiy's agenda from even the Oromo people's agenda to me.
okay,
Because when you say Oromo, we're talking about more than 30 million people. We cannot aggregate all those 30 million people and say that Oromos are thinking the same way that some fanatics are thinking. No, I I trust and believe there are a lot of Oromos that recognize and understand their destiny is with other ethnic groups in within Ethiopia, and there are countries who are dreaming different things. Um, so we have to be careful to aggregate and generalize things like that. It's not.
fair enough, fair enough.
Yeah, yeah.
For those of you who's asking me about who's at Napu is a colleague, friend of mine from the Amhara region, but always fights for human rights for all Ethiopians. He been standing beside me in the United States, Atlanta, standing beside me in the Congress, fighting for the Somali rights as well as the Amharas, Oromos. We've been trying to unite the Ethiopian people for over 30 years, pretty much. And even though each one of us have a different perspectives, but the common agenda, humanity, we've been working collaboratively. We went to Ethiopia together last year and assessed the country and understand where this country is going, the direction, and what needs to be corrected. So at NAPU, at the end, and at NAPU is one of the co-founders of Dub TV, the Amharic program, but under the circumstances, he did not have time to do programs, but we will restart shortly this year. Having said that, at NAPU, what's the message that you send in to all Ethiopians and Somalis and the international community who are watching us?
Well, my message is we are in a very fragile region, the Horn of Africa, and there is no any country in the Horn of Africa who doesn't have humanitarian issues, human rights issues, famine, civil war, poverty, in any country in East Africa. And we need to be preemptively and challenge regimes and the political system that is perpetuating for against humanity, against instability, and warmongering and other things. We need to be ashamed of ourselves at this time. We are fighting for a piece of land or sea or river, but we have enough resource that can sustain beyond the East Africa and the Horn of Africa. We have many rivers we share with Somalia, Ethiopia, Sudan, Eritrea. But man, let's live in peace, honestly. I don't blame people. Most of our people did not go to school, did not get a chance to school. They don't have clean water to drink. They are still in a traditional way. People are still moving from place to place with their herds at the 21st century in many parts of Ethiopia and many parts of Somalia and many parts of Sudan, Eritrea, and everywhere.
And
Now,
add to that, 97% of the students for last 3 years has failed in Ethiopia.
yeah,
High school.
only
And
that.
so
At this time, Yasin and our listeners, we have already enough problems and enough wars in the region, perpetuated by regime such as Abiy Ahmed's and Prosperity Party, which they believe they cannot control the country without war. Believe it or not, let's discuss this type of agenda after 3 months, 4 months. Probably 30, 40 million people of Ethiopia will be in famine. They will not be even have enough food to sustain their livelihoods. The basic thing is our people has to eat to survive.
we will go in details at NAFO.
Yeah, so please let's avoid conflict. When some madness like this happens, let's be against war and conflict and policies like this, which will bring war and conflict. We should be standing against it. I call for Ethiopians. They don't have to support this policy. This is fraudulent. This is illegal. This is a call for war. And Ethiopians do not need. We have already enough problems that puts our people in danger. We don't want another war. We don't want another conflict for nonsense policy like created by nonsense leaders of Ethiopia. So that's my message. Yes.
Thank you, Atnafu. I really appreciate it. We will continue this dialogue, and I want to make sure that the rest of Somalis and Ethiopians are talking so that people do not misunderstand policies that the regime has and what the Ethiopian general consensus are. So, and Somalis. So it's time to unite, time to consider the consequence of these actions, and that's what we are, what we started in, and that's what we do always as an activist, and we will continue to do that.
Thank you very much, Brother Estin. Appreciate for having me.
I'm Mr. Ganalo.
I'm Mr. Ganalo. We're learning now.